Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 24th of June of 2023. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. Of course, this video we're going to discuss Rostov area, ЧВК, private military campaign Wagner and Prigozhin, of course the situation that took place on the road from Rostov-on-Don to Moscow. As you can see, there are a lot of icons, a lot of things happened on this road, so let's start from the beginning. And first of all, the previous video we discussed that by the 4 or 6 a.m. of the local time, Wagner's managed to enter Rostov-on-Don, and Prigozhin itself captured the central part of that settlement. Then we had video from him when there was some kind of negotiation process with the Russian military authorities, and they were talking about the situation. The Russian military authorities were asking him to stop this provocation, to stop this strike, and to move and to turn his convoys back to the combat line. And during the day there was a lot of video and photo confirmations when the Wagner forces were heading to the north along the road M4 in direction of Moscow. But before the Wagners entered Rostov-on-Don, there was an update that as a result of air defense work, the Wagners managed to shut down at least 2 helicopters Mi-8 somewhere in the vicinity of Rostov-on-Don. A lot of convoys, just a few squads, maybe a brigade or a few battalions stayed in Rostov-on-Don with Prigozhin, but the main part of Wagner's were heading to the north along M04 road. When talking about the area from Rostov-on-Don and almost till the Voronezh region, so this territory, there were no updates, so as you can see there are no icons on this line, and the total distance of this line is around, let's calculate, so is around just a second. So Rostov-on-Don, and then we're going back to Voronezh, so almost on the area of 500 or half a thousand kilometers. We haven't received any updates, and mainly this situation is connected that a lot of Wagner forces entered Rostov. Some forces start moving to the north, and a lot of Wagner forces crossed the border of LPR somewhere in the vicinity of small like settlement Kreshatiki and Bugayevka. So this settlement, so Wagner's crossed this border, and later they published the video how they managed to capture the entire detachment squad of Russian forces without any clashes, without any barriers, without anything. This entire squad surrendered to Wagner's. They took a decision to save their lives, and after that the Wagner's continue moving further to the north in direction of Voronezh region. Also from this territory we got the first update that as a result of air defense work, the Wagner's managed to shut down one airplane, IN-24. Some sources were saying that was Il-16, some sources were saying that was Su-25 or something like this. Anyway, this is the real accident, and as a result of that air defense work, at least a plane was destroyed and 3 pilots were killed. And that was also one of the first losses, was the helicopters that were destroyed in the vicinity of Rostov-on-Don. So the Wagners continue moving to the north, and as soon as they got the M4 road, some Wagner's forces managed to reach the settlement by the name of Pavlovsk, and from this territory we got the video how the one truck was destroyed. A very interesting video, by the way. Let's take a look at this video one more time from the beginning. So as you can see, based on this video, we don't see the fly of shell or missile. It looks like the truck was destroyed by itself on the road. As you can see, there is no episode when we can see a missile or rocket or something else. We just see the explosion of truck. So in the end of this video we will discuss probably that was a real movie that was made by the Russians and Wagner's for one important purpose. We will discuss this in the last part of this video. So it was like the first losses of Wagner's, at least on this territory, on this part of the road. Then Wagner's continue moving to the north, and in the vicinity of Voronezh we start receiving a lot of updates. According to the Russians and Wagner's, the Russians start using their helicopter forces, and they were trying to attack Wagner's along the road from Voronezh, from this position to Voronezh. And there were a lot of updates. For example, on this video, some sources are saying that this is the video of explosion of like a helicopter. Some sources are saying that this is the video or image of destroyed bridge. Very difficult to understand because the same picture, the same video was published from the settlement from Borisogledsk, this settlement, and the sources are saying that the Russians destroyed the bridge, and they also published this photo, this video, as a result of that attack. So it's very difficult to understand what exactly took place there. Furthermore, the sources are saying that somewhere in this area, the Wagners, according to official information, took a decision to split their convoys, and some forces start moving to the west in direction of this Bogoyavlensk, and then they were starting moving to the north. And also from this bridgehead, some forces continue moving to the north through Voronezh and also in direction of Moscow. And furthermore, some sources are saying that somewhere in the vicinity of Yelets and Lipetsk, some Wagner forces also moved to the east, and they also were trying to move in direction of Moscow. Also, exactly in this area, we got somewhere at 7 p.m. of the local time, or 6 p.m. of the local time, the sources reported that by 7 p.m. the Russian forces have already lost 3 Mi-8 helicopters, electronic warfare systems, 1 Mi-8 transport helicopter, 1 Ka-52, 1 Mi-35, and 1 Il-18 or An-26. Furthermore, on this video, for example, the sources are saying that this is the results of 1 Mi-35 was destroyed, shut down. It fell down somewhere in the fields, and according to this video, or at least the author of this video tells that he tries to show the result of the fall of Mi-35 somewhere in this area. So Wagner's bypassed this territory, and after that they entered Voronezh, and in Voronezh we start seeing a lot of very interesting updates. For example, in this video we see how the Russian Ka-52 helicopters was trying to attack Wagner's, and as a result of air defense work, this helicopter managed to bypass and turn from Wagner's attack of missiles. So as you can see on this second, we see that the Wagner sent missile, but this missile bypassed the helicopter and couldn't shut down it. But anyway, this, as according to the information we have, 1 Ka-52 helicopter was destroyed. And then Wagner's bypassed Voronezh as well, and as we discussed, they split their strike forces at least in 3 waves, and somewhere in the area of Yelts, the Russians, like drivers, published the video of Wagner's heading to the north on some vehicle, light vehicle, and there was a small convoy of Wagnerians who were moving to the north. During the day, the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation, the Russian authorities start blocking and blocking the bridges that lays between Wagner's and the capital of Russian Federation, Moscow. For example, in this video you can see how the Russian National Guard have redeployed their forces in the vicinity of this bridge, this small settlement Serpukhov, and they established the checkpoint on the bridge, and they were ready to meet Wagner's with a real battle. Another bridge a little bit to the east from Serpukhov in the vicinity of Kolomna, there was another bridge, and Russians also established a lot of light vehicles trying to block any movement of Wagner's to the north of Moscow as well. Meanwhile, the Wagner's the main power of Wagner's were moving to the north. A lot of different type of units started redeployment process from LPR and DPR in direction of Rostov-on-Don, and I'm talking about Akhmat Special Unit. These forces started redeployment from DPR in direction of Rostov-on-Don, and there were a lot of video confirmation of that. For example, there was a video of a big convoy of Special Unit Akhmat somewhere in the vicinity of Avilo-Uspenka. As you can see, there is a very big convoy of 150-170 units of armored vehicles and vehicles of that special unit. Furthermore, there were a lot of updates that a lot of forces, especially in Akhmat, entered this settlement on the west through the small settlement Chaltyr, Another forces entered Rostov from Krasny Krim. There is another video of convoys of like special units Akhmat heading in this direction, and as you can see, like there was a flag of Chechen Republic, a very big convoy, and another convoys entered Rostov-on-Don through a small settlement, Destructor and Askai, this one. And so basically somewhere at noon time, a little bit later, somewhere by 2 p.m, Rostov-on-Don was completely encircled and blocked by the Russian forces. And basically, when talking about Rostov-on-Don, there were no clashes, no fightings, just regular things when the Russian forces were trying to force the civilians from the settlement to step back, to push back from the settlement, not to be very close to the military forces and so on. And we were almost every people all over the world were expecting that Wagner sooner or later will get the outskirts of Moscow and will enter the settlement. The blogger Riber published his video of with arrows of movements of Wagner's. A lot of things. Some sources were saying that the Russian military authorities left Moscow, that the airplane number 1 with Putin moved in direction of St. Petersburg. Later, the Russian authorities reported that Putin haven't left. Of course, a lot of interesting things. Furthermore, I believe you saw the speech of Putin during the day. But the most important thing from my side is that during the day we haven't received any updates, any notes, any messages from the Minister of Defense of Russian Federation, Sergei Shoigu, and the head of Russian army, Valery Gerasimov, who is currently responsible for a special military operation. Anyway, we were expecting that by this night the Wagners will enter Moscow and they're going to be a real military corps or something like this. And everything was ready for this. During the day we got a lot of updates, a lot of videos from combat line, from Kherson, from Zaporozhye, from Russian forces, from Russian brigades who are currently located on the combat line. They were sending video message to Wagner, begging them to stop, not to start blood, not to start civil war, because everybody was very scared. Everybody was very scared, not in Russia but also in countries who supported Russia. And somewhere at 8 p.m. of the local time we received that Wagner's convoys stopped somewhere in 2 kilometers from Moscow. So let's calculate not 2 kilometers but 200 kilometers from Moscow. So this is Moscow, and probably Wagner's stopped somewhere in this area 200 kilometers before Moscow. And they reported that the official sources of Republic of Belarus reported that today there was a call between Lukashenko, the president of Republic of Belarus, and Vladimir Putin, the president of Russian Federation. They discussed the entire situation together about Wagner's, about the entire situation on the combat line, about this military corps, and Lukashenko asked permission asked Putin permission to start negotiation process with Yevgeny Prigozhin, with the head of Wagner's. And the Wagner's reported, and the Belarusian authorities reported, that there was a conversation between Yevgeny Prigozhin and the president of Belarus for the whole day. And somewhere at 8 p.m. we got the official message either from the Lukashenko office and the Prigozhin office that they reached some kind of agreement. There was a very difficult negotiation. They reached agreement, and basically Prigozhin received some guarantees and obligations from the president of Belarus about the entire situation, and they have fixed all issues between them. Wagner's have stopped. There is currently, according to the official resources, there is a real agreement between parties, a document on the table to sign, and basically the situation has ended. And now we are going to the most important part. For example, we see that Ukrainians wasn't prepared and wasn't ready to this entire situation with Wagner. And furthermore, almost more than half a day, the Ukrainians were trying to find a solution, trying to understand what is going on. The Western intelligence also were trying to understand what is going on. And somewhere after afternoon time, the Ukrainians started acting. The first thing we got is the video video from the Belarus opposition forces, from Kalinovsky regiment, who is currently on the territory of Ukraine fighting against the Russians and so on. And they published that video where they were saying that Kalinovsky regiment started their own operation against Belarus, against Belarusian authorities, and they asked people on the territory of Belarus to wait a signal. So basically, no matter the situation with Wagner's and so on, I believe that that was a real special operation. Basically, the Russians managed to discover the real plans of the Western countries, at least about Belarus. And that was the video of that. A lot of Belarusian people, a lot of Belarusian opposition forces published a lot of video. They started asking people from Belarus to be prepared. So basically, we've seen the real plan. The real plan of the Western countries about Belarus was discovered as a result of the situation with Prigozhin, Putin, Moscow, and so on. And the most important thing is that basically Wagner forces was located in the vicinity of LPR and DPR, and after the Wagner started their movement against Moscow and against official Russian authorities, as under cover of this special operation, under cover of this strike, the Russians managed to redeploy significant number of forces from DPR to Belgorod region, to the north of Russia during the day. And basically we see the situation when most of Russian forces and Wagner forces currently located in the north of Belgorod, and there is no barriers, no problems for them to start moving during the upcoming night to Belgorod region, and let's say to start offensive operation tomorrow in the morning in the vicinity of Kharkiv. Nobody can not allow them to do this. The Russians, as a result of all events during today, managed to redeploy a significant number of forces to the north. There were a video, of course, about Special Unit Akhmat. Probably the Russians also have some plans for them, and now these forces will be also redeployed to the north. I'll give you my opinion, and during the first video of today, the title was Military Coup or a planned action, and basically now we see that that was really planned action. Furthermore, we received update from the Lukashenko office today somewhere at 8 p.m. and the thing is that during the day the Ukrainians launched their greatest counter-offensive operation. At least the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine announced about the beginning of very big offensive operation, about another wave. So basically that special operation also forced the Ukrainians to launch that attack, and also that special operation helped the Russian and Belarusian special forces to discover their plans against the Republic of Belarus. And another interesting update we got today from Kherson region, the Ukrainians reported that they managed to cross Dnipro River. Furthermore, they managed to, according to the official information we have from the Ukrainian sources, and some Russian sources confirm that the Ukrainians managed to build a small bridgehead in the vicinity of Antonov Bridge, and furthermore they managed to redeploy at least 3 tanks on this bridgehead, and currently the Ukrainians continue their offensive operation. So we see that the show has ended. The show has ended. We see that as a result of that show, at least Wagners are saying that nobody from Wagners were killed. Of course, according to official video, we see that the Russians lost a lot of helicopters, but maybe those were also a part of these games, and maybe that was everything planned and prepared before. Also, we see that during the day, Wagners managed to redeploy a significant number of forces from south, from Rostov-on-Don area to, let's say, Belgorod area, and currently they're completely ready to launch their offensive operation and to begin the storming of Kharkiv. Furthermore, we saw that Akhmat special unit also in the process of redeployment. Also, we see that the Russians managed to discover the real plans of the Western countries about Minsk and about Belarus. And the only answers we haven't received for the questions, what is going to be next with Sergei Shoigu, the Minister of Defense of Russian Federation, and Valery Gerasimov. And some sources are saying that one of the paragraphs of those negotiations and those agreements was to dismiss these 2 guys from their positions. Some sources are saying at least that that was some part of those agreements that Valery Gerasimov and Shoigu currently dismissed from their positions. Wagner and Prigozhin also will be dismissed from position of PMC Wagner, and the Wagner itself will become a part of Ministry of Defense and finally will sign a contract with the Ministry of Defense. We expect to see this agreement. Today we are not going to cover the situation on the ground. We will do this tomorrow, because for now this is the most important update. And one more time, that was, I don't know what exactly, but if it was a real special operation, believe me, that was one of the most significant special operation made by the Russian special forces. And that's it for today. Military Summary reminds you that we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes to my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.